Table 250.66 of the NEC helps us to size any supply side bonding jumpers that are required. So 250.66 would give us that sizing based on the ungrounded conductor size. And any bonding jumpers are again important because you have a solid bonding and grounding path back to the utility. 250.41 tells us a little bit about the why, and it tells us that systems that are grounded have to be connected to earth. And what this does is it limits higher voltages by things like lightning, transformer faults, or some type of a other larger fault. And then it also helps to stabilize voltage during normal conditions. And it does this by providing not a low resistance path, but it provides a low impedance path and helps to give some type of a reference to ground for the electrical system. 250.50 tells us about the grounding electrode system, and also it tells us that if it's present at the building, we have to use it. So 250.52 provides us a list of qualifying electrodes. So they talk about a metal underground water pipe, if it's applicable, if it's more than 10 feet into the ground, concrete encased electrodes, so the Ufers, ground rings, rods, pipes, and plates. Other listed electrodes or ground plates, so it has to be listed for grounding. It could be some metal in the structure of the building that qualifies for a grounding electrode conductor. So those are all found in 250.52 of the NEC. So in a typical residential inspection, what we're going to look for is the water pipe. And in our area, the water pipes are all metallic and they are at least 10 feet of earth contact. So we're going to look that we have a proper bond of the conductor to the water pipe and that there's also a jumper around the water meter. We're going to verify that there's at least one 5/8 inch copper rod at a minimum of 8 feet in length. So in new construction, what we're requiring is the concrete encased or the Ufer. 250.104b talks about other metal piping likely to become energized. And at the water heater, typically you'll see a bond of the hot and cold because of the dielectric unions that are breaking that connection. And then sometimes you may see a bond at the gas line. As I mentioned before, 250.53.2 talks about the supplemental electrode. So you may need to supplement that rod if you don't have 25 or less ohms resistance to ground. If you do add that rod, it can't be any less than 6 feet from any other grounding electrode of the system. This would be an example of the concrete encased electrode, or the Ufer as it's known. Before the footing is poured, it has to be at least a minimum of 20 feet in contact with earth, and it has to be a minimum of a 1/2 inch in diameter, so typically a number 4 bar.